Welcome to Studio Hockey. My name is Ernst Baert and I'm joined by my co-host in this podcast, Jaspreet Singh. Studio Hockey is all about domestic and international hockey, and together we make sure that we look at our game of hockey from both a European and a more Asian perspective. Our guest for today is Allison Keefe, who will be delivering a completely new perspective for us, the US perspective. Allison is, correct me if I'm wrong, Allison, but you're from New Jersey in the US, so
Yep.
that's East Coast. So that means that we are not only in very different time zones while recording this. Allison has just woken up. I'm almost halfway through my day already, and Jaspreet is close to the evening in Delhi. But it also means that we look at our game of hockey from very different perspectives. Um, I learned about Allison from her Substack platform, The Field Hockey Analyst, where she shares her insights about the game in the US and related to the national teams of the US. And a quote that caught our eye is from Allison, quote, "I believe that the first step to growing the game is to talk about the game." Well, both Jaspreet and myself, as you can see clearly on the screen here, are a couple of old men. So we are not from the generation that speaks social media as their native language. Please explain what you meant and how you go about using social media to grow the game, Allison.
Hi. Yeah. So in the U.S., we have a collegiate system. It's called the NCAA. So it's players 18 through 22, 23. And when I started, I was playing Division One field hockey at Sacred Heart, which is kind of the bottom of Division One field hockey. Like there's 80 teams, and I think we were usually ranked like around 60. So I noticed from my own experience that no one really talked about our team. And then one of my best friends plays Division Three, which Division Three is my American friends are going to get mad at me, but it's the lowest division of college field hockey. Um, and like she's a very good player. And I was getting really annoyed because no one ever talked about her team. Like if you googled my team, some stuff would come up. If you googled her team, you would maybe get a roster, and that was about it. So that obviously made me really annoyed. Because I'm someone who thinks that everyone should get recognition. Not like everyone should get a trophy, but like if you're doing good, you should get recognized for that. So I started originally on Twitter my senior year of college. So my last year, I think I was 19 when I started, but most of this I was 20. I just started posting on Twitter about Division Three field hockey, just kind of what was happening, like game scores, rankings, that kind of stuff. Because even like we don't have an internal ranking system for Division Three past the top 25 teams, which I think is stupid because there's 163 or 4 teams, and you only know who the top 25 are. So me being very stubborn and realistically very American, I was like, this is stupid. I'm gonna do something to fix it. Um, so I started posting on Twitter, and then it eventually morphed into Instagram just because that's where a majority of our players are. Twitter was more like coaches and that kind of age group, maybe some older college players, but Instagram had more of the like younger players, like the 18, 19-year olds and the even younger players, because Instagram also acts as a major recruiting platform for college field hockey. So a lot of our like 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds are posting on Instagram to try to get recruited to college, which in itself is like a crazy, crazy culture.
Yes.
Um, like it's a little ridiculous, our college recruiting culture. But yeah, so I started posting on social media, and we actually just hit 20,000 followers yesterday. So
Cool.
it's clearly working. But yeah, I think that in America, there's not a lot of coverage on field hockey. If you ask most normal people about field hockey, they'll probably tell you either it's the sport that you play with candy canes, or they might be able to tell you who Aaron Matson is, and I think that's about it. Like a lot of people don't know we have a men's national team.
Oh,
They
wow.
don't know that they just played in the Olympics. I mean, Pan Americans is kind of its own thing, but no one knows that Pan Americans just happened.
Mm.
So no one's really talked about it. There's no like ESPN is not posting about hockey here. So I kind of just took that into my own hands because I think like us qualifying for the Olympics last year, at least in my opinion, was a very big deal after having not qualified for the 2020-21 Olympics. Um and I knew that like I know most of our players at this point, like most of the seniors, and I was like someone needs to give them a platform. And I, at that point, maybe had 10,000 followers. So I was like, okay, I can start to give them a platform. And it's just kind of like really that the national team coverage has really just grown from there.
Mm. Seems very cool. Chess.
Yep. Yeah. Let's talk about the difference in hockey culture, Allison. In Europe, where Hans comes from, it is all about pay to play, and it has the club systems where families and friends come together. Hockey is part of their social life, so as to say. In India, we expect to be paid to play. It's a career choice and less of a leisure activity. It has become the game has become professional here over the years. In the US, it seems to be most play in order to get a scholarship, and once the college days are over, there is no more space in life for field hockey. Do you agree with that? And tell us why people start playing hockey in the US.
Yeah, it's definitely pay to play when you're younger, and then once you get your college scholarship, it's kind of you're going to play in college, and then you're either going to coach or you're never going to play again. We don't have really great retention when it comes to field hockey past the age of like 23. Um, and I think like for starting, most kids when they start hockey, I mean, I started when I was 14, which is obviously pretty late compared to most like European and Asian countries. Um, we don't have in my area, we don't have hockey before the age of maybe 12. There are no programs for younger kids unless you want to play club, which is obviously very expensive and it's a lot more of a time commitment. Um, Meanwhile, like soccer, football, um, I started playing football when I was 4. Like that is it's the sport that you put your kids in here. And I mean, I was a competitive cheerleader for 8 years and I started cheerleading at 5 years old. So, it's those are more of sports like flag American football, soccer, football. Those are the sports that you put your kids in and also like baseball, not so
Yep.
much field hockey. If you're in Pennsylvania, which is also on the East Coast, it's like the state next to where I am. That is a place where you do start your kids at hockey at age 4 or 5 years old. It's where most of our senior national team comes from. And it used to be the home of USA Field Hockey, probably 10 years ago now, before they relocated to North Carolina. So the hockey culture there is a little bit different. Um, but in general, it's basically once you get to college, because there is no professional league, no one really plays after college unless you're in the national team system. Which obviously I think is really disappointing because I want everyone to just keep playing hockey. And our club system is also kind of uh, I would say a lot of people don't necessarily have loyalty to our clubs. I know like in Europe, like you kind of your parents played for the club, then you play for the club, and it's very like you that is your club, that's who you represent. Where here, it's not unheard of for players to have played in 3 or 4 clubs in their career. There's a club, WC Eagles, in Pennsylvania, that they are the best club in America. Once again, my American fans might get a little offended by me saying that, but they are the best club in America. Um, and they like there's players who will drive 2-3 hours just to go train there. So they'll play for their club, and then once it gets to the point where they really need to pick up college recruiting, they'll go train there, or they go to boarding schools in Pennsylvania so that they can train there.
Mm.
So there's I think, less of a club loyalty here than there is in other countries.
Yeah. So how did you get into the game? You say you got into the game at the age of 14, and you mentioned that okay, not in club hockey. So what's the difference between high school hockey and club hockey? Is there a cultural difference there? Why do parents put them in one or the other, or maybe both? And why did you make your choices the way that you made them?
Yeah, so I started school hockey when I was about 14. And honestly, my story is really weird because I was a competitive cheerleader, as I mentioned before. And my last year of cheerleading when I was 13, 14 years old was a really bad year, but I'd also like really hurt my knee. And I was kind of like in a spot where I was like, I don't think I can keep doing this. I want to try something different.
And you thought it would
But
be good for your knees to go into field hockey?
yeah, maybe not my best decision in life. And my knees probably will tell you right now that making switching to field hockey is probably the worst decision in my life, but
I can
it's
imagine.
okay. Um, but yeah, so basically I was like going to switch to high school cheerleading because it's less uh com- youth competitive cheerleading here is all year. Like you literally get maybe 3 weeks off the entire year, where like high school it's less because you get like summers off or whatever. So I was going to switch to high school field hockey or to high school cheerleading. Um it's a very weird story of the coach that I knew wasn't there the day that of like sign-ups, so I randomly signed up for field hockey instead.
Oh
And then
well.
I just
They-
started playing field
really?
hockey.
So that was an
Yeah, like
accident.
it was genuinely an accident for me to start playing field hockey, and I think it's the funniest thing. And then I only played 1 season because once again I had really bad knees already, and by the end of my first year, I was like completely injured, had to have surgery, and just
Oh,
wasn't able to play. So like truly, the weirdest workings of like fate that I made it this far in field hockey.
Okay.
Um,
So how do you then go about from accidentally choosing hockey, only playing for a year or so because of injuries, to opening up a Substack platform called the Field Hockey Analyst, and doing well over there apparently. So how does that transition come about?
in short,
yeah, it was
you
definitely
should be hating hockey. In short, maybe.
Yeah.
yeah, it was definitely like a weird transition. And I laugh about it a lot with my friends. Because my first year I also didn't necessarily like it. I like cried before every practice because I didn't want to go. Um, and then so after my first year, I was injured, but at that point we thought I was going to be able to play in the future. So I was like, okay, I'll just do like our scoring books for our team. So like I would write down like who had goals and assists, and I've always been a numbers person. Like I could tell you scores from when I was 6 years old in cheerleading, and like the
Mm.
point difference that we lost by. I still have those memorized. I'm very much a numbers person. Although I don't like the subject of math in school, so that makes no sense either. Um, but yeah, so I started doing that, and I did that my first year, or I guess it was my second year of high school, so I was like 15, 16ish. And then I thought I was going to get cleared medically from my knee, didn't get cleared, so I had to do that for a second year. And then my coach got fired, a bunch of stuff happened, and I was just like, all right, I'm not going to play. I'm going to do my last year and call it a day. Um, and then when I was choosing colleges, I didn't play in college, and I only applied to one college that had field hockey. Um, and I just happened to choose that school and reach out to their coach and was like, "Hey, I need a job. Like, I'll do your stats and your lunch orders because that's like what I was a manager, and the managers literally like set up cones, order lunch, and maybe sometimes do stats. Um, and I was like, all right, I'm getting paid decent money to do this every day. I get paid hourly, and I get paid to be on the bus for 8 hours. So I'll do it. It's fine. Um, and then from there, like I actually started to like the sport probably around like when I was like 16 or 17. And yeah, somehow we ended up here.
That's quite interesting. How your love affair with hockey, so as to say. But we live in a world where sports science governs the way elite sports are played. Um, but and you bring analysis to the table. But is there a way that you bring analysis that's something different to how it is being done currently, or maybe a year back when you started?